Hello and welcome to Second Chance Cinema Club, where this week we're going to continue our discussions about Andor Season 2, and unfortunately, probably be the last discussion we have about it because it's now finished.
We're never going to talk about it again.
Oh, of course we're going to talk about it
You
again.
mention it every week.
I will talk about it a lot. I'm Hutch, here's Stefan. Let's talk about Andor Season 2, or call it the finale. 3 episodes, episodes 10, 11 and 12.
Let's do that.
Prior to these 3 episodes, the previous 9 episodes, their IMDb rating had been an average of 8.5. So let's say they're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And we kind of, on that basis, had high hopes for these last 3 episodes. So, and I think last week, or last time we recorded, you said something along the lines of, it seemed unlikely or felt uncharacteristic that they might drop the ball in the final 3 episodes.
Yes.
What do you think about that statement now?
Wow. Cool. We're jumping in the deep end. I've got mixed feelings.
Ooh.
That's probably my high level summary of that. But I also think, well, what on earth was I expecting? Because it could only ever really end the way that it did.
It could only ever end the way that it did. It's quite. I mean, there's literally, without shitting upon something else, there's nothing else they could have done with that. I don't.
No. Look, we should give our spoiler warning as well.
Yeah,
just in case
spoilers.
it hasn't been...
So there'll be spoilers galore in this. We're going to talk about it in depth, but it's been out for like 2 whole weeks now. Well, it's actually not. It's been out for a week. But
a week tomorrow. Yeah,
a week. And if you haven't given over 3 hours of your life like we have, or in my case, maybe like 12 hours of your life, to watch it multiple times.
I did watch it twice, so I've got a good basis to build on for this discussion, I feel.
So now that I've asked you that question, I will tell you that the IMDb ratings for these last 3 episodes. So as I said, previous 9 at the point at which, or at this point, averaged 8.5. The episode 10, Make It Stop. Episode 11, Who Else Knows? And the final episode, episode 12, Jeddah, Kyber, Urso.
Yeah.
Each of those got 9.6, 9.5, 9.6 in that order. So
that's unprecedented. It must be.
It is, and and bear in mind, because we've had an extra week now. Like the previous times when we stated those numbers, it's been like in the first 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah,
we've had basically a whole week of reviews, and like all of them have had 20,000 reviews plus.
Wowzers! That's a solid sample size, I would say.
Yeah, so it's been very well received. We got a lot of stuff during this. I mean, to sort of give my view on it. I mean, like you said, you're not really sure. You've got mixed emotions, but you're not really sure what you were hoping for because it had to end where it ended.
Yeah.
I mentioned a couple of weeks ago after the previous episodes, what would it have been, 7, 8, and 9, that I didn't feel like I could do it justice by talking about it.
Yeah.
And I just again, this made me properly emotional. And I was trying to think why, and I think without drifting into hyperbole, and I'm trying to keep it sort of serious and give a sensible response to it.
Right.
As someone who was born in the early 80s, who was raised on the original trilogy, had a borderline unhealthy obsession with the original trilogy.
Yes.
Was starved of any new content for years, and in these subsequent years has had basically a feast of varying degrees of quality of Star Wars. To now have this, it's like everything I've ever wanted from new Star Wars since I was a child. I just think it's incredible, and there'll be people who argue like, well, actually, it's not what you wanted from Star Wars because there's no lightsabers, there's very little Force stuff, there's no Jedi, there's all it's all I'm sure there'll be those who argue that it shits all over Star Wars because it doesn't have any Star Wars content. I don't care. It is, for me, it's just from start to finish an outstanding piece. Has it got a few bits in it where I think, probably, but what hasn't, quite frankly? And I just think as a piece of art, a piece of entertainment, television, you struggle to find anything better. Like, regardless of whether it's what genre you're looking at and what franchises you're looking at and what setting you're looking at. I think I just think it's remarkable. I think it's wonderful. And I think it's a fantastic display of what happens when people just make things with passion and don't try to satisfy focus groups. Like,
yeah.
Because I can't imagine there's any focus group that said they wanted this, particularly not the first series. I think it's someone's just decided I can tell a good story, and they've sold it to someone, and someone's gone, yeah, okay, we'll go with that. And this is what happens. You know.
So are you just going to sit on the fence the whole time? Or are you going to tell us what you really think?
No, I am, absolutely. I'm gonna, at some point, I'll dive in and actually express an opinion. But
no, very, very strong words, and I'm not quite there.
No, I get that, and I get that. I completely get that. But yeah,
but I do recognise that this is by far the best Star Wars we've had in a very long time. Since, for me, like Mandalorian season 1 probably is where this is at for me.
Okay.
And yeah, I agree. It's and you know, we've said many times how just the restraint they must have had to show to not have lightsabers and Jedi and the Force and stuff in there. I mean, even if you think about Rogue One, you know, fairly late in production, they chucked in that Vader scene at the end. You know, and you feel like, was that a bit of a capitulation to commercialization? This they didn't. There's no concession to fanboyism at all. It's just like you say. We want to tell this story.
Yeah,
it's nothing to do with Skywalkers, and the name Palpatine gets thrown around a few times, but you know,
but in context,
seeing you're not seeing Force lightning any time soon or anything like that. So yeah, it is marvelous entertainment, and I know we'll come around to talk about the series as a whole once we kind of dived in a bit more. So I'll kind of save some thoughts for a bit later on. But I'm right there behind you. I'm just not quite where you are.
I haven't quite dived in head first the way you have.
It's just I don't quite have that emotional connection. To it. So I think a few of the bits that are probably, you know, hitting you in the feels maybe are just missing on me a little bit, but still can massively appreciate.
Well, and I think maybe that part of that comes from what you weren't, as much as you enjoyed the first series, you weren't nearly as into it as me, and probably not as much into Rogue One either, I don't think. Which did, I know, it annoyed me. I missed a really, you know, we were talking about Melshi a couple of weeks ago. Who we now know is called Melshi, and like we were hypothesizing about who he could be and all this sort of stuff. And he's bloody one of the characters from Rogue One. He's like, and I was like, afterwards, I was like, no, I know who he is.
Yeah. I did watch the first 10, 15 minutes of Rogue One after I'd watched these, just to see that tie in a little bit.
Yeah. It's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was disappointed they didn't give him the same haircut. That was, I felt like they could have easily gone, right, let's just sort his hair out. I reckon Diego Luna's just like, you are not touching my fucking, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back to that. That doesn't need to be done. I'll get it cut on the flight or something. And
that's it. Yeah, it could have feasibly stopped by a barber's on the way or something, couldn't he? On the way to the belt or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I don't know. But anyway, so that's the general overview of it. And I don't think we've actually done any plot spoilers yet, really. But we'll just to reiterate, there will be plenty from this point forward. We see a lot of characters, and I think we alluded to this a couple of weeks ago, that we were going to at some point see a lot of characters that weren't in Rogue One somehow meet their demise.
Yeah.
namely, I would say let's start with Luthen
Yeah.
and probably tie into that a bit with Dedra.
Mm.
And then we'll have to follow on to the... But one thing we did get right was about the demise of the FSB. Sorry, the FSB. ISB. FSB.
Yes.
FSB is something different. We're not in Soviet States, Soviet now. ISB.
Not yet.
So it was... And I think Lonnie, I thought we'd probably seen the last of him, but I think we called it quite right with that, where we said that Lonnie would lead to his demise, which I don't know, maybe wasn't quite spot on, but that stuff with Lonnie, that was cold. That was cold.
Yeah.
And that got me, particularly as a parent, where he says about, I've my wife and kids.
Yeah. So is his name Lonnie Young? Is that his? Because I've written down Young, but I know he's Lonnie as well.
Young, isn't it?
Young, Jung.
Yeah, it's Jung, but they pronounce it Young, I think.
Young. So it's Lonnie Young, is his name?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, do we think Luthen killed him? Is that what happened?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. Because he puts that ring on. Is that he's got like a little poison stab thing in it, or
no? He shot him.
Do you think he just literally blasted him?
Or
I wasn't sure if Clay had like sniped him from distance or something. But...
No, I think you're overthinking this.
I just want to know.
I think literally Luthen's gone, right, the end is nigh. Basically, he knows. I think Luthen's like, look, because they went all through the stuff with like code clearance and stuff, didn't they, with Lonnie and Dedra, and Lonnie saying, look, I've burnt my bridges, I'm done now. I can't go back because they're going to know that they already know what I've done. If they haven't worked it out already, they're going to work it out very soon. I cannot go back. I'm going to have to go now. And I think at that point, Luthen's just gone, yeah, it's the end for all of us.
Yeah.
Tell us what you know. I'll make sure that information gets where it needs to be.
Well, it's Lonnie's clearly trying to leverage what he knows as, he knows his information is essentially what's keeping him alive. But Luthen still manages to kind of wheedle it out of him. And it's, I don't know. I feel weird on that one. Like Luthen is clearly trying to get to a point where he can extract everything to a point where Lonnie's no use to him anymore and then just offs him.
Well, I think as well, there was a bit of he signalled it as well, didn't he? Where he's like, we're going to Yavin.
Yeah.
And like, as a viewer, we're like, well, we know you're not going to Yavin.
Yeah.
And
true.
I'm pretty sure you're not telling him that if he's got the information that Yavin exists, you ain't letting him walk away from this.
Yeah, because didn't he say Yavin? What's that or something?
What is that? It's clearly not. Yeah, that's the pulp window. It's not a well-known planet, is it?
Yeah,
or even a planet or a moon of a planet, really, is it? It's a satellite planet.
I just feel sorry for poor Lonnie. It was like, don't tell Luthen anything. That information is all you're worth now.
Yeah,
and that if you've got to give him nothing, but he just gets talked around and. Luthen does the whole, come on, we're in this together. Tell me all your secrets. It's fine. Yeah. I definitely won't shoot you. It's all good.
But that's kind of Luthen on the whole, isn't it? Like the one thing that becomes clear in these 3 episodes, it was kind of clear earlier in the series, but when we understood that he couldn't go to Yavin and why he couldn't go to Yavin, but just like the depth of disdain for him.
Everyone hates him there.
Amongst other rebels, yeah. They're just, there's just no love for him whatsoever, apart from amongst the people who knew him well, like Cassian and Mom Mothma's like she has disgust for him, but like she appreciates what he did.
It's I think Andor put it best when he said something like, I knew him, the good and the bad. And, even despite everything he's done to us, you still have to recognise what he's sacrificed for this.
Yeah, I think he said we have said like a front row seat to it or something.
Yeah, that's it. So he's one of the most interesting characters in this series is Luthen, because he's he does some awful, despicable things.
Yeah.
And is it a kind of the end justifies the means, but there are lots
Yeah.
of other people who are trying to get to that same end but aren't willing to do that. But someone has to be the one to do the dirty shit. And, and then Andor kind of takes over that mantle just, when he offs Nemec in Rogue One, you know, like as soon as he gets the info and realizes, he's no good to him.
Yeah.
And it's, you need characters like that to make shit happen, don't you? And
but I think that's
tough.
That's where a lot of the disdain for him comes from, doesn't it? Because I mean, basically, with the exception of Claire, essentially everyone who's got information on Luthen in the past is basically gone, and he's been willing to. And like Vel, Mon Mothma's cousin, she's obviously very unhappy with him because of probably partly blames him for Sunta, probably partly for the deaths of other people who died during the Aldani stuff.
The raid.
And kind of like, basically we know as the viewer, almost everyone who's been of any use to Luthen but has learnt more than he would like them to, has gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get some real backstory on Luthen and Claire, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that in the middle? I can't remember. Oh no, it's in the first episode, episode 10. Yeah.
Make it stop.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So he's got some real PTSD from some battle or other, hasn't he?
Mm.
What does he keep saying? Rosh Niluts or something. I don't know if it's in another language.
I don't know. He says he says make it stop. I know that.
He does, but he also keeps saying this other weird alien phrase. I don't know what it's. Yeah, it was like he was saying it backwards.
Yeah, I don't know.
So they refer to him as Sergeant Lear.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's Rael backwards.
Luthen Rael.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have thought so.
So he's like secret identity. In classic Star Wars fashion, it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'll just change my name ever so slightly. I'll just make it backwards.
Now Ben Kenobi. My actual name is Nethan Lear.
Yeah.
Nethan Lear, that's me.
So he's a sergeant in some Imperial skirmish, isn't he?
Seemingly. I was trying to work out whether or not that was like Battle of Mandalore or something like that, or
could have been. Because we don't really get much of a clue.
No, but I don't know. I feel like it would have been.
Some smart ass will have figured out.
This is probably from this or this.
They refer to a hill, and you only get hills on Naboo.
Yeah,
so.
I've been. I think. Do you think that was Naboo that they were on?
Don't know. Well, I wondered if it was where they're doing the bridge blowy uppy thing. Yeah, that definitely looked like Naboo.
Yeah, that looked like Naboo because it was interesting all that stuff. Because this is the interesting thing. So it kind of got the impression, or I thought at least, it gave the impression that Luthen was just trying to walk away from whatever that was. Didn't want a part of it, and clearly didn't like the Empire and didn't want to be a part of it and all that. But it kind of gives the impression that it's Claire's, let's say, hatred and her desire for revenge that kind of drives them to the point where they are on Coruscant. And she's the one like pushing it forward. Like he's kind of like, he knows he's the military operative. He knows how to maneuver. He knows how to do all the stuff. Yeah. And he comes up with plans and executes them as such. But kind of she's the driving force because she's the one with basically her home, her family, everything's gone.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I one of the things I love most about this second series is what they've done with that Claire character. Because I barely remember her from season one, and I know I haven't seen season one in a while, but I really only remember her as like an assistant kind of thing. She
was. I mean, she had a fair share of lines, but she was fairly peripheral. Yeah. She didn't feature a lot.
So I love the ascendancy that we've seen from her in this series and that backstory. I was a little like, do we need flashbacks? Do we need, it's, we're in the last episodes. Is it, why do we spending a bit of time doing this shit? But, it was great, like you say, to see that actually Luthen's drive is from her. She's the one who, like you say, is kind of the instigator or the passion, the venom, like whatever it is, the drive to do it, to rebel.
Also, the element of like, I think Luthen's like, this child is now my responsibility.
Yeah.
I can't just drag her into like some life as an assassin or a spy or whatever else. She has to make that choice.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're just being sad."
Yeah.
She has a go at him, like, "You're just being sad."
You're just being sad.
Basically tells him to man up. It's like, "Come on, sort yourself out."
Yeah, and she's willing to push that button, isn't she? And I think, doesn't he grab it back off her and he does it at the last second?
Yeah, it's like, "You're not quite ready. I know you're willing to do it, and I know you want to do it, but I'm going to take it from here because this is something I want to do. I will do for now. You're not. I don't want to make you a killer just yet."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it was great to see that their history goes a lot further back than we knew. So that that added so much more weight to what happens next when he tries to take his own life and she ends up finishing the job for him.
Yes.
So
yes, with a tear and a kiss.
Yeah, very emotional. Yeah. There was about 5 seconds of her infiltrating that hospital where I thought, oh, she's going to try and save him, and then very quickly I realised, oh no, actually, she's just going to finish the job.
You're in the wrong ballpark here.
Yeah. Let me rethink that. She's just here to make sure he doesn't survive and can't be interrogated and so on. So
exactly.
But very well done. Loved that whole that first episode.
Yeah, it's good. There's some of the classic tropes though of instantly finds clothes that fit her, and a pair of shoes as well that fit her, which is even harder, I would say.
Yeah, she does really. Yeah, on the second time she hacks into someone's storage.
I like those lockers. Those
something.
lockers were cool, weren't they?
They're very cool. Like a terrible shape for storage though, like a cylindrical.
Yeah, everything. Just put it in. It all just slides.
It all just it's definitely form over function, isn't it?
Yeah, quite. I remember, it reminds me. My daughter. It was my daughter's birthday a few weeks ago, and she got a fish tank. I don't know if I mentioned this.
No, I didn't know that.
But it's the same fish tank that Cyril's mum's got.
Really?
It features in this.
Oh,
it's something called a biorb, and it's a circle. It's spherical. Ooh. It's spherical. Sorry, and it does look cool, but as a fish tank, it's problem is you can't see the fish unless they're directly in front of you, because anything slightly off to the side, and it just gets massively distorted. And it's like, oh right, okay.
Oh right. At least it looks cool.
You have to wander around looking for it.
Just look in the top.
It's like, are they still there? No. But anyway, so. On that subject of spherical things, there's that, and it is relevant because the same. I saw that episode, and they were scanning through. What's her name? Edie or whatever it is.
Yeah,
her apartment.
Mrs. Cyril.
Yeah, Mrs. Cyril. Cyril's mum. Scanning through her apartment. I was like, "That's our fish tank."
Nice.
Like, yes.
I thought maybe you saw the episode and rushed out and bought one.
Oh yeah, there was that as well. So, what fish tank?
As you want
model?
To do.
No. I mean that's commitment.
Yeah. Just slowly turning your house into a Star Wars house.
Doesn't buy any other Star Wars merch, but will spend 200 quid on a fish tank. So
it's got to be done.
Yeah, quite.
Under the shoddy guise of it being your daughter's birthday present.
Absolutely. Right.
Is that Star Wars stuff you wanted?
Yeah. Quite. On the subject of all the hospital stuff and Luthen and his demise and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Dedra, she goes on a journey through this, doesn't she?
God blimey, does she?
Oh, blimey.
God blimey. Yeah, she, we see her. Yeah, this is one of the things I was wondering about so Luthen knows they're coming for him.
Yes.
He's been told that by Young.
Lonnie.
He says, they're coming for you literally right now. He's like, okay. So he makes sure Claire gets well shot.
Yep.
And he stays behind to do the burn. And he's pouring the acid on the transistor.
Can't help feeling he should have some sort of breathing apparatus on for that.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I was having an asthma attack just watching it.
Yeah.
All those noxious fumes.
And like when he opens the door to her, the smell must be rancid.
Oh, yeah, I'm surprised it took her so long. But why did he answer the door at all? Or if he was going to do it, why didn't he quickly finish the job and tip a load more acid on a load more stuff before he...
Because he's done, isn't he? He's done.
But he almost stitched them up because they were able to use the half-finished thing to still track down Clea. And, I know it's plot, blah, blah, blah. I know this didn't really happen, etc., etc. But it's just one of those little niggly things where you're like, well, don't go and answer the fucking door. Just,
But he gets the last. He
spray a bit more acid.
Despite the fact he ultimately meets his demise. I mean, he wins, doesn't he? He gets the last laugh on Dedra because she's.
Yeah.
I mean, what a twat she is.
She is.
Just for the arrogance.
Absolute. I like. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
But just the arrogance of her, like she's that classic. And we've had these discussions before. You worked at any large organisation. The classic sort of middle manager who thinks they know better than everybody else and thinks they in their heads they actually run the place. Yeah. And they can do what they want when they want, and in reality they are nothing, and they need to be reminded of the fact that they're nothing, and she gets that and a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, she's another interesting one, isn't she? Because she's so officious and obviously completely bought into the whole fascist regime thing.
Yeah.
But then she does have these little passionate outbursts that sort of
I have dreamed of this.
Yeah, and the whole like just jumping straight in to confront who she thinks she's found Axis.
Yeah.
And just bodging that whole thing.
Yeah. And
it's for someone who seems like so like careful in terms of her planning and thinking things through and doing the 4D chess bit, she's still human at the end of the day. She's still prone to these mistakes. And
she wants her moment of glory, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, and like Partagaz said to her a few episodes ago, is capture the guy and then make him famous. Don't build up the legend and then not deliver him.
Yeah, it's also I think she has a chat with Heer a few episodes earlier as well, and he's like,
yeah,
have you ever thought that the reason Partagaz put me in charge is because I don't want the glory? Whereas you do, because you are that way inclined.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's I sometimes forget that she has that in her character, and then she does stuff like that, and you're like, oh yeah, actually she is. Sometimes she does think with her heart rather than her head.
Yeah.
A bit. Well, not too much, but in a way that isn't necessarily in line with how you'd expect an Imperial officer to be.
Her troubled childhood, I think, comes to the fore.
Without a mother's love.
Well,
but I love that tension of the chat between them. They both know why they're there. Neither of them are under any illusion that the other doesn't know what's going on, and it's just the little vocal, the subtext and the things that aren't said.
2 articles of questionable provenance in the gallery at the moment.
Yeah, what a great line that was.
Yeah,
absolutely great. Any guesses? Yeah, and then she takes out the Gubbins thing, the Wayfinder, whatever it's called from
the Wayfinder.
So is that not what it's called?
An Imperial Starpath unit, I think.
Whatever. What's the Wayfinder's the Sith thing that finds you Exegol, isn't it?
That's some of those really good films. Those ones.
That's what. That feels like a completely different franchise, doesn't it? So love all the vocal jousting that those two go through before she finally cuts to the chase.
Yeah.
And then he's got his Daedric
6,000
sacrificial
6,000-year-old knife.
Yeah. But it's so we see 2 suicides in these last few episodes. It's
Partagaz.
That's very un-Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to be fair, we don't actually see Partagaz, but Partagaz is another one.
No.
Like throughout the entire series, he has been again, using the sort of the hierarchical structure of an organisation, he's appeared to be very near the top.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's just another puppet.
Yeah, when Krennic turns up and even visually see the insignia that Krennic has compared to Partagaz and
the cape.
Yeah, the cape. Nothing signifies I'm the fucking boss here like a cape, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest.
Camel boys.
And Krennic can really flex some muscle when he's down there with what does he call him, in this dreadful basement. And
what do you think would drag me to this awful basement?
Yeah. When she finally says the word.
Yeah. He's like, oh,
Say the word.
has my reputation fallen so precipitously
Yeah.
that I would be here because of a death of a
ISB
clerk.
Yeah,
it's just like, fuck me.
And then he does this weird thing where he puts his finger on the top of her head.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant. It's like, oh, even that, I was like, oh, Jesus. And her face,
she looks terrified.
It's almost like they didn't plan that. And like that reaction she gives feels like it's very, like, she's not acted that. She's gone, oh, shit.
Well, yeah, I read somewhere that it wasn't scripted, but I can't imagine it's such a nice tight shot. It's all well focused. I can't imagine it wasn't planned, but it does give that impression, doesn't it? But
I feel like it's sort of thing. No, I think it's ultimately she's in focus. It's only on top of her head, isn't it? I think he could.
It'd be so perfectly framed. I'd be surprised that a program of this caliber would allow such random acts of.
How dare you act?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, I mean, there's a lot. You see so much stuff where they're like, "Oh, that bit was improvised. That wasn't in the script," and a lot of it's bollocks.
It might have been. It may have been improvised the first time.
Controlled, aren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe they said, "We'll do one more take for fun," and maybe he thought, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to jab my index finger into the top of her head." But I don't know. But in any case, it was a great scene.
But it's that again, in like literally the space of a couple of hours of her day, she's gone from thinking she's like career wise, she's on the crest, like just on the cuff of just like, I'm going to be sat at the right hand of the emperor at some point.
Yeah.
To being basically, we'll try to cope without you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ, he really puts her in her place there, doesn't he?
See you later.
And she at the end? Is it? It's like a sort of place that
Narkina.
Yeah, it is. It looks that prison thing that in series 1, isn't it, where she ends up?
Yep.
Like no, and then she just breaks down crying.
I knew, and you would do, wouldn't you? Like,
it's fucking awful.
I had images of that one, like of like her being in a cell next to someone else who's like, like this person in the cell next to her who's like who might be like some street urchin who's been who's like gone to them like, oh, actually this is all right, it's clean.
I get fed, exercise.
I get a shower every day.
Nice warm floor.
Yeah, exactly. Lovely warm floor. And they're like they're all happy, like, oh, this is compared to where I was living yesterday, this is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas she's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's quite a fall from grace for her.
Yeah.
And I know she's horrible and awful and she's meant to be a villain, but I still feel for her.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel sympathy for her character. And like I said before, I really wanted things with her and Cyril to have worked out. It was like my little headcanon fantasy that they disappeared off into the sunset and it was all lovely. But
started a little family of fascists.
Yeah. But this series was never going to give me that.
No. But she's again,
really
she's
wasn't.
like, she's just yet another victim of the Empire, basically, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's just that thing of everyone's, all these people who
scheming.
All these people who are big fans of the Empire and happy to be part of it and think it's wonderful, as long as they're on the right side of it.
Yeah.
The moment they get on the wrong side of it, you're done.
It's just the speed it unravels, isn't it? And Hirt is kind of just waiting to stab her in the back, isn't he? Just
I don't know with here because I don't think he's waiting to stab her in the back. I think he's obviously very concerned that when the hospital stuff goes wrong, he's very concerned that the finger might be pointed at him.
Yeah,
I think he's more thinking, right, I want it made clear I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
this was all about what had happened up to this point, but we are now in charge.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. He's like, this was Didra's security package. Underline that. Very clear. But God, he meets a hilarious stroke horrifying end.
Just getting carried down, being used as a shield by K2.
Jesus Christ. It was like something from a horror film, that, wasn't it? Just the cold, dead eyes of K2SO behind him.
I'm aware of how long we've been talking for, because it is quite a while. Should we have a quick break?
Yeah.
And then come back?
Let's do that.
Because I'm aware we are going on and on. But we will continue to do so just after a quick break.
Okay.